Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday. We actually just dropped a thought piece this past Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you're looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available wherever podcasts are playing, and we provided you with access to a few links down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Allô les meufs et les mecs, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental wellness. And the topic of mental wellness this week, we're going to be talking about the art and science of moderation. And now, whether you thought so or otherwise, I am someone who struggles with moderation. I did a video a little while ago on the 7 deadly sins, and I talked a little bit about the song and dance that I do with gluttony. And while people assume a certain profile for someone who is gluttonous, it's really about overindulgence, someone who doesn't understand moderation without there being consequences first. And that has definitely been my journey. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the art and science of moderation, how too much of a good thing can definitely not be that great for you, and how I've really started on this path of moderation. So just to give a couple of key examples, some anecdotal talking points on it is one of the first one is I remember when I was doing my master's program, there was this cute, adorable little coffee shop that featured a charcoal latte. It was a charcoal, like almond milk latte, and I thought, well, why not? It was supposed to be like a cleansing latte. And so I was like, well, why not? Let me try this new latte. Let's see what the experience is like. I'm typically a matcha green tea latte girl myself, but I wanted to try this charcoal latte, and I tried it and I absolutely loved it. And I started drinking this charcoal latte every day for the next subsequent 3 days. And luckily for me, because it was a boutique coffee shop, by the 3rd day, the barista, he was like, listen, like, I understand that you like this drink. You can't drink it daily. It's active charcoal. Like, it's not going to like do well for your system. It's too much. And I was so thankful that he had given me that tidbit of advice. But honestly, I liked it so much, I would have made it my main drink. And I completely forgot the fact that charcoal is an active ingredient. Like, it has medicinal properties. And it brings me to just like, if we kind of zoom out a little bit, that's really the theme of my life. When I like something, whether it's something that I'm eating or something that I'm doing or something that I'm into, I am super into it. I want all of it or none of it. And I think it even dates back to when I was a child. When I was a child, I refused to eat off my own plate. I only ate on my father's plate. And because of that, I was used to, since a child, eating like a male, like a grown man's portion of food. And even when I was full, I would remember as a child forcing myself to eat the full plate of food because I wanted to eat it all to myself. Like I wanted my father's plate of food. So my father would have to sit and watch me eat his plate of food just so that I would eat at all, right? But that's something that bleeds into almost every facet of my life. Like I love movement, I love to move. And so I can find myself moving, exercising every day. And because I love it so much, because it feels so good, it's really like my body starting to protest the movement that requires me to take a couple of days off, which ends up being maybe 3 to 4 days, sometimes a week off, because I push my body to such an extent. And while I love my body's love for movement, it is my body that has to signal to me to stop, because I am someone who generally struggles with overindulgence. So what have I learned? Well, I've learned based on my body's response to me overdoing it that things are great in moderation. Whether we're talking about food, our favorite latte, whether we're talking about fitness, like whatever it is that we have in mind to do, moderation is key. And moderation isn't something that's like bound to a certain amount. It's like a very, very soft science. So moderation for me can shift and change based on the month, based on the week, based on what my body needs. What my body needs, it changes on a cyclical basis because I am female, which means I don't run on a 24-hour clock. I truly run on a 28-day clock. Like I am definitely on that cycle. And depending on where I am on that cycle will dictate, well, what can I do at what points in time? So I've learned the art of moderation as an adult, but I want to explain to anyone who is seeking to find new habits. Healthy habits are only healthy if we also practice moderation. So we practice not overindulging, and not overindulging can be something that, like, again, like an outside expert opinion can help you figure out what the appropriate frame was. Like for the barista who told me, you know, active charcoal probably isn't something you want to drink every single day. It can be something that you seek out a different team of individuals to help you with, or something that you figure out through trial and error. But I think that moderation is how each of us find our way to living the quality of life that we want. And I think even like if for cheat days, for people who have cheat days, like I don't necessarily believe in that philosophy. I eat the things that I eat and I aim to practice moderation. But I wanted to come in here and talk a little bit about that. We even talk about like how frequently we see our friends. And I remember as a child, I would always want to visit with specific friends. And my parents would always say familiarity breeds contempt. Like you always need to give people an opportunity to miss you. And it's just interesting how these messages are just completely ingrained in our minds, because I am someone who believes that if people get too much of me, then they might have that contempt build up because I've got that messaging so much. I'm always like being mindful of like how much FaceTime I'm having with other people. All to say, like, it's funny, on the flip side, I've never been in someone's company so much that I enjoy where I felt contempt because they were in my company for so much. Like that's never actually happened on my side of things. I think it's a principle. It's one of those like principles that you can find in the Proverbs or something. So I think that like it's definitely something to keep in the back of your head so that you practice moderation even in relationships, even in social settings, even with the frequency and the cadence by which you like maintain contact, your social network. And again, each person is different. It's an art. It's not a science. It's something that you have to figure out through trial and error, through trial by fire. But I think once you figure it out, once you find that sweet spot, then you start to really find that balance, find that equilibrium. And balance and equilibrium are a little bit like equity, right? It's not about like equal portions. It's about the right portions based on the profiles of the individuals, or based on the context, or based on the dynamic that you're trying to establish. The right proportions, not equal proportions, because equal proportions sometimes in certain extents just doesn't make sense. So I want to come here, I want to talk a little bit about moderation, make it cute, make it tongue-in-cheek, and talk a little bit about some of my like personal experiences growing up and my own struggle with overindulgence and how that's made me just so mindful about moderation, and even like with the frequency that I post online. Everything that I do is within this lens of moderation, like how much is enough without it being too much, or even the content that I share, like how do I share a message that's really important to me, but I moderate the tone a little bit so that it's not like, doesn't sound like an extremist or like a fanatic position, because there are certain like topics I love to hear about, but if it's said within a specific tone, or if there's too much of, you know, a specific style of speaking, then it takes away from the message. So moderation is key. It can be in your communication, it can be in your relationships, it can be in your fitness, it can be in the way that you deal with food. I mean, moderation is something that you can apply to every facet of your life. So if you haven't really thought about moderation, if you haven't thought about, well, what amount is too much and what amount is just the right amount, like how much is too little, and then what's the right amount, what's the amount that like actually works best for me, not thinking about equality, thinking more about equity, thinking more about like based on who you are, your profile, and where you are are in your cycle, whether you subscribe to a 28-day cycle like I do, or 24 cycle like most biological men do, then I think it's just something worth thinking about, especially as we build our goals for next year. We think about the hobbies and the habits that we would like to create in the next year. Let's think a little bit about moderation as we set that cadence and as we set those commitments that are more tactical commitments. In any case, that was the topic for today. That's it, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events. So if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars, workshops, largely focused on self-mastery over and above those events. So check it out. Be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we do invite you to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later. I just feel like the world's into me.